Okay, hello, hello. Welcome back. I'm very happy to see you all here today. We're going to continue with the intermediate language series. So I hope you're ready for a very good lesson because, we have studied a lot in the past few weeks and you have seen a lot of material. So now it's time to begin the process of review. So that's what we're going to start with today. So I hope you're ready. I hope you are comfortable because we're going to begin. So, as I said, we're all starting with review now. So I'm going to spend the next few lessons reviewing the major things we have learned so far in all of this intermediate series. We've talked about different verb tenses, we've talked about a lot of vocabulary, we've talked about a lot of grammar concepts, and we've talked about a lot of different word types. So I'm going to spend some next lessons trying to group these things together. So for this lesson, we're going to be talking all about the present tenses. We've talked about four different present tenses in this intermediate series. I know, can you believe it? So we're going to look at all four of those present tenses again, and then we're going to try using them all together. And that way you can see now, instead of looking at them, at one thing at a time or maybe comparing two things together, we can look at them all as a whole unit and see how do we use the present tenses in English together. So that's what we're going to work on today. All right. So the first tense that we talked about in this series was the present simple. And I'm sure this is something that you have seen over and over and over again. So you can probably teach it as well as me. So the present simple. It's a little special in English because we have the present simple and the present continuous. We'll talk about the present continuous in a moment. But English uses the present simple in very specific situations. So you have to be very careful with it. We use it to talk about facts. We use it to talk about habits or things that happen regularly. And we use it to talk about things like feelings, personal descriptions, all those kind of things about describing a person. The present tense is all about right now. So, how do you make it? Well, the present simple is simple. It is the subject and your verb in the base form. No suffixes, no nothing to change. The only thing you have to be careful with is that little s for he, she, it. I know it's the most annoying, small little thing. Um, that's the only thing to be worried about in the present simple, though. Be sure that you're careful with that small s. So some examples of the present simple. It rains a lot in Dublin. There we have talking about facts. It is a fact. It rains a lot. You'll see it if you live here. So there's no controversy. And it is a present idea because it also happens regularly. Or I eat breakfast every day. Here's a habit, very clear. This is something you do every day, very regularly. So we use the present simple, as well as a current thing, such as I work as a teacher. This one's for me, and we use the present simple here because it's a true fact and it's a current description. So, I said feelings, and there's also descriptions like jobs and height or weight. All of those things we use the present simple for. So, the present simple, the hardest thing to remember is do not let anything from your language kind of influence the present simple. Remember, English only uses it in these very specific situations. All right. The next thing, though, this is what is a little trickier, the present continuous. This is what we really use almost all the time when we are speaking in English. So this one is what we actually use to talk about now. So I know you would think the present simple, that's the one that I use to talk about now. Um, but no, it is only for those specific situations. The present continuous is what we'll use to talk about whatever is going on in the environment or the situation around you. So if you think about this one on a timeline, you've got the past now, and the future. And so you're talking all about right here, and you're talking about things that are in process around you, things that are changing, are moving, and are happening right now. It's always that idea about process. You're always going to be things that you can see happening, you can see changing, you can see moving, all of that. And as you're very aware, you make it with the subject, your be auxiliary, and verb ing. And, just be careful to remember in the present, we have three forms, am, is, and are for the be verb. So some examples. Right now, I'm talking to you. So I use the present continuous. I don't say the present simple because it's not a habit. I say the present continuous because it's something we're doing in process right now. Or on the reverse, I'm talking to you. You all are studying English. So you now are in that process of studying English. Or, for example, I am eating a sandwich. Maybe at lunch, I am eating a sandwich, so I'm in the process of eating. Um, if we change for the present simple in each of things, so if I change, I talk to you, you all study English, I eat a sandwich. If we make the change, now we're talking about habits every day, something that happens again and again and again. But be careful because that's not the meaning. I'm talking about this moment right now. So I use the present continuous. Am talking, are studying, and am eating. So that's really the thing you want to be careful with the present continuous and the present simple. All right. The other verb tenses we studied were the present perfect. Yeah, we talked a bit about this several weeks ago. So this one is to talk about events that started in the past and are connected to the present. Usually a finished event, something that's not going to continue. So if you think about it on a timeline, you've seen my timeline before. We start somewhere in the past and we reach to the future, or sorry, to now, to the present, not to the future. Uh, and that's really what the present perfect is trying to capture, trying to say that some event started in the past and it's moved all the way to now. And of course, we make this with have in the auxiliary and the past participle. So, of course, we have has for he, she, it, have, and has, but really the past participle is the hardest thing here because English has many irregular forms for the past participle. Usually, it is the ed suffix form, so worked, jumped, things like that, ed. But oftentimes it might be irregular forms like eaten or bought or slept, things like that. So be careful with the past participle. So some examples. I have eaten lunch today. So this is true. In the past today, I ate lunch, but it's still connected to now. There's still an idea that it's true now. The food is inside of me still being digested in my stomach. So I have the idea that it's true. Or Tina has cut her finger. So I know that she cut her finger in the past, but it's still connected to now. I can still see the injury. I can still see the damage. Um, so that's really what the present perfect is capturing, that idea that something started in the past, connected to now, it's finished, but there's some evidence, something about it still happening today. Very often, we use the present perfect for experiences like travel. I've been to Paris, I've been to Rome, I've been to Canada, those kinds of things, because it's an experience. So you did it in the past, but you still have the ideas, the knowledge, the memories with you today. The next verb present tense we talked about was the present perfect continuous. Yeah, we've talked about all of this in this lesson, in this intermediate series. So, what was the present perfect continuous? Well, it was to talk about events that started in the past and are happening now. So, we we have that idea of the present perfect. So we remember something that started in the past. But the difference is that the perfect continuous will continue into the future. So the present perfect is finished, where the continuous has the idea that the process will continue into the future. So it looks something like this. You have the process or the event starting in the past. It has happened all the way to the present, and you believe it will still happen in the future. It will still continue. So that's what is so important about the present perfect and the present continuous. You want to make that difference clear. The present perfect is finished in the present, it's finished now, but the continuous is still going to happen. It's still going to move forward. And so to make it, we combine the have auxiliary and the be auxiliary. So we have been verb ing. So we have the perfect auxiliary have, the continuous auxiliary be, and then the verb with the present ing form. And as always, we have has for he, she, and it. Additionally, we can look at some examples. I have been teaching English for 3 years. So that's true for me. This is something that started in the past. I taught English. I started in the past. I have taught all of this time, and I hope, I guess, that I will continue to do it into the future. So I use the present perfect continuous. Or maybe instead of a long time, we can look at less time. David has been cooking for 3 hours. So he's making a very big dinner, a very special dinner. He started 3 hours ago. He's still doing it now, and I can see he's not finished. He still is cooking, so he has been cooking for 3 hours. So yeah, can you believe it? We talked about all of these four verb tenses um, in this lesson, in the intermediate lessons. And those are all four of the English present tenses. There they are. We have the simple, the perfect, the continuous, and the perfect continuous. And that is it for the present tense. Those are all the ways we can talk about the present with English. The next thing to be careful with perfect tenses is, of course, for and since. So for both the present perfect and the present perfect continuous, we need to remember our rules for and since. So since, the first thing is that pronunciation. Always be careful with the pronunciation of since. We want this I sound as in igloo or iguana. Since. So let's try that just to be careful. Repeat after me. Since. Yeah, be very careful. No signs. We do not want that. Since. And so what's the difference between for or since? I think you can tell me. It is for is for a period of time and since is for a specific time. So, an example, I can say for 20 minutes, for 20 days, for 20 years. It's some specific period of time that I have on either side. Whereas since is for dates. So you're looking back at a specific point in time, and I'm reaching back and saying from that point or from that point. So that's since, usually for dates, years, months. That's what we're talking about for since. So Alex has been cleaning for 20 minutes. So here I'm looking at that period of time, 20 minutes, so I use for. Or I have liked broccoli since I was a child. So since is special because you can make a whole clause here, and you can expand to talk about a specific point in the past using a whole dependent clause. Um, that's one of the differences between these two, is that we won't use a clause in this context with for. So it will be for 20 minutes, for 10 seconds, for 300 years. But since can actually have a subject and a verb. So that's one way that they're actually quite different. And so since I was a child, since 2002, Since I was a teenager, uh, you know, since since forever, you can say something like that. All of these show that you can use since to reach to a specific point in the past to make your sentence. Um, and we can also change these sentences around to have the same meaning with for or the same meaning with since. So let's look at this first one. Alex has been cleaning for 20 minutes. Well, let's just say right now it is 12:20 p.m. So I can say he's been cleaning for 20 minutes, or I can say he has been cleaning since 12 p.m., 20 minutes ago. So you can also use a specific time with since, not just dates, but dates and times, all of that work together. And if you do it correctly, there's no difference in meaning, no difference for 20 minutes since 12 p.m. It's just a different way of talking about time. Okay. So let's try and work on this. So I'm going to show you a sentence, and you need to choose the present simple, the present continuous, the present perfect, or the present perfect continuous to complete the sentence. Yeah, all of these will be options here for these examples. So it might be a little tricky, but don't worry, we're going to talk about every one. So let's look at number one. Our company a conference trip every year. So you have to think a lot about the time. Is it something that happens as a habit regularly? Is it a fact? Is it truth? Is it in process? Is it something that started in the past and finished now? Or is it something that started in the past and will continue from now? All right. So I'll give you a moment. I'll pause for each one to give you a moment to think because there's a lot to consider for each one of these. So the first one, our company, a conference trip every year. Okay. So I hope you have your guess. Let's check. Well, this one is plans. So simple present. Our company plans a conference trip every year. The clue, the big key here is every year. Um, this one tells you this word here requires the present simple because now I know it is something that happens every year. So it's a habit, it's repeated. And that's very essential for the present simple. It doesn't matter if it happens every day, every month, every week, every year. If it happens repeatedly, on a schedule, we'll use the present simple. So plans. And then company, we need S to match. All right, the next one. Sarah, biology for 3 years, and she will start a master's this fall. All right, so verb to use is study. And so what do you think? How, what of the present tenses, simple, perfect continuous, will you use? Okay, do you have a guess? Let's check. So for this one, we've got the present perfect continuous. Yeah, this one might be a little tricky. Some people might say, why not the past tense? Why couldn't I use the simple past here? Um, and I will argue it's because of the next sentence here. Sarah has been studying for 3 years and she will start a master's this fall. So I know her study started in the past, it's continued all the way to now, and she plans to continue the study into the future. So that's why I say the present perfect continuous is best for this example because we've got all of those parts, the past, the present, and the expectation that it will continue into the future. All right, let's look at another one. They to Spain many times. Verb to use is go. Yeah, okay, what do you think for this one? Is it a habit? Is it an experience? Is it something in process? or a process from the past? All right. Do you have a guess? Let's check. So they have gone to Spain many times. So now we've got an experience. We can't use the present simple here. You might think they they go to Spain many times, but it is not good to use the present simple here. Even if it happens again and again and again, it's an experience. And that's really one of the key differences is we do not usually talk about um, experiences with the present simple. We'll use the present perfect, have gone, because they went to Spain in the past and they did it many times. That's okay, but it's something that happened in the past and they still have the ideas and the knowledge with them. So the present perfect is better. All right. How about number 4? Grandma, a book right now. Don't interrupt her. She's very busy. Okay. Do you have a guess? Let's check. Grandma is reading a book right now. Don't interrupt her. So yeah, this one now is just that present continuous because it's in process. Right now this is happening. She is in process reading her book, flipping pages. So we just need the present continuous. All right, next example. Amanda at a local school right now. Amanda at a local school right now. What do we need? Okay, do you have a guess? Let's check. So Amanda works. I know many of you probably, wait, is working. Um, works is better here because we usually talk about your job as the present simple. It's what you do every day. I work as a teacher. She works at a local school right now. She studies at a university right now. Even though we have this common continuous phrase right now, the present simple is just better here for this verb. Work, studies, um, those kind of things, it's better to use the present simple. But I mean, if you say is working, it's okay, but it's just not as good. All right, final example. She since 9 p.m. last night. She since 9 p.m. last night. Verb is sleep. A big clue, a big hint here is since. Remember which ones we use for and since. Okay, so let's check. Correct answer is has been sleeping. Yeah, this one we need the present continuous, and it is a very big difference in meaning. So if you say she has been sleeping since 9 p.m., she went to bed 9 p.m. last night, she is asleep, or she is sleeping all this time, and she is still asleep now. She is asleep, and you expect her to continue sleeping. If I say she has slept since 9 p.m. last night, it will probably mean she's awake or she is about to be awake. Whereas has been sleeping has the idea that she will continue to sleep. All right. So these are just some random practice examples um, of these different verb tenses. But what I want to show you now is something a little more practical. So we've got these 4 verb tenses here, but when when do we really use them in real life? So, these are kind of just random things, random situations, random examples. But what is something where we can see them all happening together in real life? Well, that actually happens and it's very common. And so, really, all of these different verb tenses, the present perfect continuous, the present continuous, and the present simple, we're all using them to show the relationship between my action and my idea and the present. That's really what they're here to show. Is it something that happens a lot? Is it something that is a fact? Is it something that is in process? Is it something that just finished? Is it something that started and is finished now? Or is it something that I expect will continue? We're trying to show this relationship between these different things. So a very common situation where we will use all of these present tenses is introductions and job interviews. When you want to talk about yourself, your experience, your knowledge and your descriptions. So let's look at that. I wrote my own introduction for you all. This is about me, my personal introduction. And I'm going to show you how I'll use all of these different tenses to show my ideas. So the first one, my name, Austin, and I'm from the United States. So try to guess, how do you finish these? All right, correct answer is and am. Present simple, very direct. These are facts about me. My name is Austin and I am from the United States. Those are just facts. So we use the present simple. And so this is how you might begin your personal introduction. But so what if I want to continue? Now I want to talk about my profession. So English, 3 years. Oh, how would I complete this one? What verb tense would I use now? I English, 3 years. And this one, for since, choose for since. All right. Correct answer is I have been teaching for 3 years. And so now I use the present perfect continuous because I've got that idea that this is my job now. I started it in the past and I will continue it into the future. And I have done it for this amount of time, for 3 years. And I could change. So let's see, 2020, 3 years, 17. Math. I'm not a math teacher, an English teacher. So I have been teaching English since 2017 or for 3 years, no difference. But so this is why I use the present perfect continuous, because in this personal introduction, I want to tell the other person that this is my job and I expect to continue. How about this? Now a little more history. I linguistics and I both in schools and online. I linguistics and I both in schools and online. So now what would I want? What would I want the other person to know? What's the relationship? Okay, correct answer is have studied and have worked. So now I'm back to the present perfect. So I have studied linguistics. So this is something that I did in the past, but it was my experience. My knowledge is still here. I did this at university. I studied linguistics and I have worked both in schools and online. So I've done both styles of teaching. So now I want to tell the other person that these are my experiences with teaching and my knowledge. And then how about this? Right now, to improve my online teaching skills. So we're doing this right now. It's something I'm doing every day. So this is a process. So of course I want to use am trying. I want to use the present continuous here now because I want to tell the other person that this is what I am doing right now. This is my current process. I am trying to improve my online teaching. And then finally, let's talk about, some other things I enjoy. At the moment, I'm baking bread and I often video games. It's me, my hobbies and desires, passions. And so what do I do to talk about these? Well, this is a description of things I do regularly, things I like. So I just use the present simple. At the moment, I enjoy baking bread and I often play video games. So this is what I wanted to show. This is how we really use these different present tenses. We want to communicate different relationships to the other person. I want to communicate that number one is a fact and number five is a description. So I use the present simple. And then I want to communicate in number two that this is something I did in the past and I will continue into the future. It's something about now that started in the past and will continue. And then number three, I want to tell the other person that these are my experiences. So I use the present perfect. And then for number five, I want to tell the other person that this is my current idea, this is my current process. So these are how these things all work together. And so things like job interviews and introductions or presentations are things where the present tenses are very important. Okay, but that is everything. That is your quick review of all of the present tenses that you have learned so far in this intermediate class. Yes, it was a long time ago that we talked about them, so I hope this was a good way to help you remember this information and help you remember these ideas. So, the present tense review: present simple, habits, facts, feelings, descriptions. Present continuous, things happening now in progress. Present perfect, events from the past that finish in the present. Present perfect continuous, events in the past and that continue in the present will continue. And then we talked about for and since and why we use these verbs. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming today. I hope that this review was helpful to help, you understand the relationship for all of these present tenses. I'm going to continue this review series over the next few lessons. So we'll do a review for the past tenses and we'll also do a review for the future tenses. I know we've talked so much in this intermediate lesson or covered so much material, so I think it's a very good time now to begin to review it all to help put it all into a better context. All right. Thank you all so much for coming today. I hope to see you again in the future, and I hope you have a good afternoon. Bye bye.